leaked Ryan Reynolds voice memos exposed. It is so clear Blake's case is falling apart. She's destroying her cred. Ryan Reynolds too.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are in full panic mode after their darkest secrets were exposed for everyone to see. The shocking leaks reveal their frantic attempts to save face, the double standards they've been hiding, and the ruthless strategies they've used to tear down Justin Baldoni.
We can now all agree that the moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justin Baldoni have amounted to high treason.
From botched legal moves to old scandals coming back to haunt them, Blake and Ryan's perfectly polished reputation is unraveling, faster than their flimsy lawsuit.
This is the audio Blake and Ryan's agent seemingly didn't want you to hear.
I wonder if you could tell us about a little bit of a mess that I gather you've been involved in.
Oh yeah. I know where you're going with this one.
Do you have notes on it?
Oh yeah. Those are the two things I said to myself, this could come up.
He brought notes on it. So this was all arranged.
Okay, so I have to admit, I don't keep up that much on Hollywood. But even I caught wind of the Blake Lively Ryan Reynolds. Let the record show for those listening at home, Ari just slit his throat.
I mean, it's a fucked up, bad situation that Baldoni, whatever his name is doing. And
it's an effed up situation. Whatever, Baldoni, whatever his name is doing. Whatever, he's your client. What a scumbag you are.
Now, he was your client too,
until I fired him.
Right.
Did you hear that?
They didn't record the show.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds used to be Hollywood's golden couple, the ultimate mix of charm, wit, and carefully crafted likability. But now, their empire is crashing down. What started as a power move has spiraled into a full-scale catastrophe. And their desperate PR attempts are only making things worse.
But they weren't the first to do this. It was Blake Lively, it was Ryan Reynolds, this was their strategy, and now they kind of want to put the genie back in the bottle. But guess what? The genie does not want to go back in the bottle. The genie likes to be free, okay?
What began as a private tantrum over "It Ends With Us" has exploded into a scandal so chaotic, it makes the Kardashians look like royalty with their act together. Every move they make to spin the narrative backfires spectacularly. And at this point, the only thing Blake and Ryan have successfully destroyed is their own credibility.
In the recent filing, we can now see that Ryan was panicked in general.
Leaked recordings, legal blunders, and pure desperation have shattered their golden couple facade. And honestly, it's a spectacle to behold. And then there's Hollywood's ultimate power player, Ari Emanuel, CEO of WME, who's been acting like a personal guardian angel for Ryan and Blake.
So he fired him. I'm a ride or die. That's why he did it. Because he basically said, okay, fine. Yeah, Ryan and Blake, I'm going to go with you. So you did that. You destroyed this man's life rather than wait.
He really thought he was being clever when he went on Freakonomics and casually slipped in a cheap shot, calling Justin Baldoni Justin Baloney, like a playground bully who never outgrew his 8th grade glory days.
This was where Ari Emanuel of WME, who is Blake, Ryan, and was Justin's agent, spoke very negatively, calling Justin baloney, all this stuff. He leveled in and talked about why he believes Blake and Ryan.
But here's where things take a wild turn. That episode just so happens to be the only one in Freakonomics history to mysteriously vanish. No audio, no video, just a glaring hole in the timeline. And what was in it? Ari straight up admitting that Baldoni was fired because Ryan and Blake pushed for it. That's right.
And then something odd happened. The podcast didn't get recorded. Neither the audio nor the YouTube video, both just miraculously didn't get recorded.
The same people playing the victim, claiming Baldoni retaliated against them, were the ones secretly pulling strings to blacklist him all along. And let's just pause for a moment to appreciate how ridiculous this recording failure really is. Freakonomics has been running strong for 15 years without a single glitch like this. Thousands of interviews, live, in studio, remote, you name it, all recorded flawlessly. Yet somehow this one conveniently disappears. But the one time a top Hollywood exec slips up and says way too much, the entire recording just magically vanishes. What are the odds? The only thing missing from this painfully obvious cover-up is someone tripping over a cable and yelling, "Oops!" like they're in a second-rate sitcom.
He's your client. What a scumbag you are.
Naturally, because subtlety is clearly off the table in this mess, a journalist just so happened to leak the audio anyway. And guess what? Ari Emanuel did admit that he fired Baldoni because of pressure from Reynolds and Lively. Shocking, right?
Now, he was your client too,
until I fired him.
Right.
Did Did you hear that? I fired him. Yeah, he was. I fired him. Because you didn't even know his name? Like, so disrespectful.
But wait, that's not even the juiciest part. The guy actually called himself ride or die for them, because nothing screams professional business move like acting like a Deadpool groupie while totally destroying someone's career.
I've known Ryan and Blake for over a decade. They're really incredible people. In Hollywood, they have been incredibly successful. People work with them. They've never had any bad mojo out there and treated people badly.
That wasn't enough. Here comes the drama of Ryan Reynolds' voice memos. Out of nowhere, these strange recordings pop up, making it look like Reynolds was sending hostile messages to Baldoni. But, plot twist, they turned out to be AI generated.
Very negatively, calling Justin Baldoni, all this stuff. He leveled in and talked about why he believes Blake and Ryan, while seemingly continuing to defame Justin. This is an agent, mind you, who has not yet publicly dropped Diddy. But he dropped Justin Baldoni because Blake and Ryan made him?
Let's break this down logically. Who actually benefits from flooding the internet with clearly fake AI voice memos of Ryan Reynolds yelling at Baldoni? Definitely not Team Baldoni, because once these were debunked, it gave Blake's side the perfect excuse to scream, "See, the internet's full of lies."
They're really incredible people. In Hollywood, they have been incredibly successful. People work with them. They've never had any bad mojo out there and treated people badly.
The only ones with a clear motive to stir up fake drama are Reynolds and Lively themselves. They were already getting roasted by public opinion, so why not toss out some obvious fake content, have it debunked, and then use that as a perfect excuse to dismiss every other leak as just more internet lies?
Ryan Reynolds on the Enneagram is a psycho. That's what he is. He's just a psycho. His number is psycho.
If that was their master plan, it backfired big time. Instead of making Baldoni look bad, it only made Ryan and Blake look even more desperate. With nothing real to use against him, they turned to AI deepfakes, like a bad Black Mirror episode, where the villain is just a petty guy from Vancouver who can't stand the thought of his wife being out of his sight for more than 5 minutes.
I'm not afraid of this, man. You are a bozo, and you look like a clown here. Now, some could say you're showing your loyalty, but no, I think it's gonna really actually hurt you in the end. And this is gonna be tar on your face. You're gonna regret this one. And I think that's why you wanted this audio not to actually get released.
The fact that Reynolds and Lively, with all their resources, genuinely thought this was a smart move says everything about how badly things have spiraled for them. Every single attempt to spin the situation has been a complete train wreck. They've tried manipulating the press, tossed in fake scandals, and even had their Hollywood puppet master literally erase an entire podcast episode.
Here's the video in question.
Justin, maybe you need to stop talking about my wife. Wait, what is your problem, Ryan?
This is AI and not Justin. There's no need for AI. The Baldoni team have more than enough real, factual evidence to show the depravity of Lively and her team's all-out lies without needing the assistance of AI programs.
And yet, none of it is working. The truth keeps slipping through the cracks, and no matter how many connections they try to pull, people aren't buying their nonsense anymore. This isn't just about a movie dispute anymore. This is about watching a couple who built their brand on being funny, relatable, and effortlessly cool celebrities completely destroy their own reputations by being vindictive, manipulative, and embarrassingly insecure. Their golden couple illusion is officially shattered, and they have no one to blame but themselves.
I can just see Ryan sitting there like, yes, this is exactly what I want, a puppy to kick in the mouth. And you'll do what I say.
Blake Lively really thought she was that powerful. She really thought she could walk into a courtroom, demand 2.5 years worth of someone else's personal data, and the judge was just going to hand it over with a little bow on top. But reality? Check. She's not the FBI, and the judge made that crystal clear when he denied her absurd request. The judge in Blake Lively's case just slapped down her psychopathic request for 2.5 years worth of every message that Justin Baldoni, Justin Heath, and their PR agents have ever sent to anybody, plus location data. We knew that was going to happen. Seriously, imagine being so desperate to win a case that you have to dig through years of someone's emails, texts, and probably even their DoorDash orders just to find something, anything, to support your ridiculous claims. It's almost as if she has no real evidence and is just hoping to stumble upon something incriminating after the fact. Your lawyers are stupid. It's like the judge is being nice here. He's like, your lawyers are really stupid. And let's be real. If Blake did get access to those messages, what would she even find? Baldoni sending heart emojis to his wife? Some guy confirming a meeting about kombucha sales? Like, what's the smoking gun here? Does she think there's a hidden text where Justin explicitly wrote, "Yes, I plan to ruin Blake Lively's life. Let's proceed with the evil plan"? We have to distinguish between what a standard court protective order is and what Blake Lively's team is asking for, which is an attorney's eyes only designation. If she does, she's even dumber than we thought. But that's just the level of delusion we're dealing with here. She couldn't even get 2 weeks worth of texts, let alone 2.5 years, because the court saw right through this blatant fishing expedition. You are not able to hold a logical thought. But guess what? I, as a judge, am able to hold a logical thought, so we're going to slap that down. You obviously cannot do that. What makes this even funnier is that this isn't even how a strong case works. If you had real proof, you wouldn't be building a case backwards, trying to find evidence after the fact. You would have actual existing receipts. But since she doesn't, she's just throwing subpoenas around like confetti at a wedding, hoping something sticks. If this lawsuit were a murder mystery, Lively would be the detective pointing at random people, like, "It was you," without actually having a body or a crime. At this point, she and Ryan should just stick to overpriced gin and boring hair products because legal battles clearly aren't their strong suit. I see a bully being, a bully attacking somebody, the bully being Blake Lively, and our powerful lawyers. Thank goodness Justin's got support to be able to fight back this time. Of course, Hollywood had to do what Hollywood does best, run a pathetic smear campaign. Enter TMZ, who suddenly decided to bring up a completely irrelevant lawsuit from 2021 that had nothing to do with this case but was conveniently framed to make Baldoni look bad. Apparently back in 2021, Baldoni's name was attached to a copyright dispute involving a script. And guess what? It was resolved. There was zero liability on his part. But TMZ, being the glorified gossip rag that it is, made sure to make it sound like Baldoni's own lawyer sued him for some huge crime, when in reality, the situation was about as dramatic as a dispute over who called shotgun in a car ride. The corruption is real, the cover-up is real, and Blake Lively's side is doing it too. Even funnier, the same lawyer they tried to weaponize against Baldoni, Brian Friedman, immediately came out and said Baldoni and his production company did nothing wrong. In fact, Friedman even said working with Baldoni proved how ethical and honorable he was. But did TMZ put that in their headline? Of course not. They buried it because the goal was never to tell the truth. The goal was to make Baldoni look guilty of something, anything, so Blake and Ryan could continue playing the victim. It just blows my mind how dumb Blake Lively's team is and how, I guess, egocentric she is, that she thinks she can tell the world, "You didn't see what you actually saw with your eyes." It's insane. And let's not pretend this smear campaign is anything new. Hollywood loves protecting its powerful insiders and throwing outsiders under the bus. You think TMZ, which basically functions as a PR machine for A-list celebrities, just so happened to dig up a resolved lawsuit from years ago at the exact moment Blake Lively needed a distraction? Please. Someone on Team Lively made a call, and TMZ answered like the obedient little lapdogs they are. So, to now see her continue to level out, where else would this have come from? Why did TMZ care to report this? Someone had to tip them off, and it's safe to assume it's Team Blake. I'd love to see their text messages now to see if they're still tipping things off. But wait, it gets even more embarrassing. When the fake lawsuits and media hit jobs didn't work, they actually resorted to an online petition to have Baldoni banned from SAG-AFTRA and the PGA. That's right, when all else failed, someone, gee, who could it be, thought an internet petition would be the thing that finally takes Baldoni down. Let's just acknowledge the absolute stupidity of this idea. How do you go from a high-powered lawsuit to a change.org petition? Like you're trying to get a Netflix show renewed. Blake says she's so glad they did, but now she wants all other footage to not come forward, and we're supposed to be like, yeah, you go, girl. Now, I'm not saying Ryan Reynolds was behind it, but, and this is a pretty big but, let's not ignore the fact that this is exactly the kind of unhinged, passive-aggressive prank he's known for. Reynolds has built his entire public persona on being that guy. The one who makes funny jabs at people under the guise of humor, the one who plays the witty, snarky jerk for laughs. It's literally his brand. And we already know from the lawsuit that he's been obsessed with getting Baldoni blacklisted from Hollywood. He was either reading her text messages, reading through the dailies, reading through the script, and he just decided, okay, you know what? This entire production needs to be halted. I don't trust my wife. Okay, so let's just connect the dots for a second. Ryan has a documented history of going out of his way to sabotage Baldoni. He also has a history of using weird humor and pranks in his attacks. And then, mysteriously, a petition pops up trying to ban Baldoni from Hollywood, using the name of a fictional murderer from a psychological thriller. At some point, you have to stop calling it a coincidence and just admit that this reeks of Reynolds' petty fingerprints. And no amount of I'm sorries will ever undo it. Hurt people, hurt people. Even if it wasn't him directly, someone in his circle clearly took inspiration from the way he operates. The guy has built his entire career on controlling narratives, through humor, And if there's one thing Team Ryan and Blake cannot handle, it's losing control of the narrative. So when things started going south for them, they pulled the most pathetic, last-ditch move imaginable. A fake online petition created under a stalker's name, trying to cancel Baldoni for absolutely nothing. When Ms. Lively later objected to this behavior, Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." It's honestly hilarious. They've gone from Hollywood royalty to desperately trying to frame someone with fake AI recordings, failed lawsuits, and embarrassing online petitions. It's like watching two rich kids throw a tantrum because their trust fund isn't refilling fast enough. Every move they make just confirms how unbelievably desperate they are to come out on top, but nothing is working, and that's the best part, because no matter how many articles they plant, how many legal tricks they pull, or how many weird anonymous campaigns they start, people aren't buying their crap anymore. The only people who are supporting Blake, because I've engaged with someone online from Team Blake, are the people who haven't done any research. And I suspect that's what Team Blake is relying on. She's a big star, she's got big, famous friends, and they are just hoping that the mass of the public who aren't actually tuning in will just believe what she's telling them. At this point, Ryan and Blake should just accept their fate and go full villain mode, get matching leather outfits, do some dramatic monologues, maybe even twirl a mustache, because no one is falling for their innocent victim act anymore. And honestly, watching them try to keep up the illusion is just getting sad. I'm just shocked at how many lies we're told. Okay, Ryan Reynolds really thought he could get away with that joke. The man stood on a talk show stage in front of a national audience and casually described what can only be considered a blatant act of sexual misconduct, and somehow thought it was hilarious. He went into excruciating detail about how he removed Olivia Wilde's top, got distracted by stickers on her breasts, and how 65 crew members stood around witnessing the whole thing, like it was some bizarre frat house initiation. And instead of realizing, hey, maybe this isn't something I should be bragging about, he laughed. The audience laughed, the host laughed, because apparently, in Ryan Reynolds' world, making wildly inappropriate jokes about sexually humiliating your co-stars is just another Wednesday. Now, here's where it gets truly, deliciously hypocritical. This exact scandal is playing out while his wife is literally suing someone over a sexual harassment claim. I genuinely don't like Blake Lively. I've known she's a brat. Nobody's paying me to say this. No one's told me to say this. I think people really didn't like her during those premiere things, and it wasn't. There was no plot against you, okay? Let that sink in. Blake Lively is out here waving the flag of justice, claiming she's a victim of an oppressive industry, and yet her own husband, Hollywood's sweetheart, was casually making on-air confessions about behavior that, in any other workplace, would get someone fired on the spot. She's completely flirtatious with him. So what's the logic here? If Ryan does it, it's just a joke. But if anyone else does something even remotely questionable, it's a full-blown lawsuit? That's rich. And the public isn't buying the damage control either. The resurfaced clip has sparked huge backlash, with people now questioning just how nice and harmless Reynolds really is. She was basically alerting the public to the fact that Ryan Reynolds is kind of a psycho. Like, she didn't say it, but she was like, he's pretty serious. She's basically letting people know that he puts on this persona as this funny, nice guy, and this isn't who he is. And let's be honest, if this was anyone other than Ryan Reynolds, this would have been career-ending. But of course, Hollywood and its selective outrage is trying to pretend like it never happened. Meanwhile, Lively's whole legal case is now collapsing under the weight of its own hypocrisy. Somebody else? I'm so surprised that Ryan Reynolds isn't funny. This is like a shocker to me. I see him walking up and down our neighborhood. He can act funny, but he isn't funny. Speaking of things collapsing, Blake Lively's carefully curated public image is in shambles, thanks to former co-stars and industry figures finally speaking up about what she's really like behind the scenes. And surprise, surprise, she's not the charming, down-to-earth sweetheart she pretends to be. She seems like a bully. She was such a high-maintenance diva bully brat. Anonymous crew members from the rhythm section have come forward with not-so-shocking details about what it was actually like working with her. According to them, she was rude, dismissive, and straight-up refused to make eye contact with people on set. Imagine being so self-absorbed that you can't even look at the people who are literally paid to make you look good. That's peak entitlement. Right there. She really wanted her vision to be included in this, okay? And it doesn't stop at being just socially unbearable. Apparently Blake was so paranoid and self-important that she had a bodyguard with her 24/7, even on closed sets where no one else was allowed in. Like, what was she afraid of? That a grip operator was going to ask her what kind of coffee she wanted? Was she expecting an assassination attempt in the middle of a makeup trailer? This wasn't some high-stakes CIA operation. It was a movie. Set. But no, Queen Blake had to make sure she was protected at all times from the dangers of having to interact with regular human beings. She alleges that she's a Me Too victim. There, that's absurd. And apparently, she was so unbearable that multiple co-stars and crew members openly admitted that they couldn't stand her. One actor even recalled the moment they realized they didn't like her, just 10 minutes into working together. That has to be some kind of record. Imagine being so unpleasant that people are over you before the lunch break. She wants us to believe this is actionable harassment. What we just witnessed there, you tell me whether that's what that looks like to you. Lawrence described their past work together as tense and frustrating because Ryan, surprise, was so arrogant and insecure that he couldn't handle feedback. Imagine being so insufferable that the mere suggestion that you could improve sends you into a full-on meltdown. That's the level of ego we're dealing with here. This person is not an honest broker. I believe her less than ever. I actually disbelieve her fully now. Apparently, the issue stemmed from Ryan trying to turn a serious role into a comedic one, despite the fact that it wasn't supposed to be funny. He was literally told, "Stop trying to be Jim Carrey. That's not what this role is." And instead of being, professional, he threw a tantrum and stormed off set. This whole persona, nice guy, funny guy, is an act, and that's not who he is behind the scenes. I think he is a very disturbed, angry individual. I was also positing, with my team, something else. And this, by the way, is not anybody inside leaking this. First of all, the audacity. You're a young actor, you're working with Oscar-nominated producers, and instead of listening to people who actually know what they're doing, you decide that you know best. This is the same guy who now acts like he's some humble, lovable dude who just cracks jokes for fun, when in reality, he's been a diva since day one. And let's not forget, this was years before he was famous. He wasn't even a big deal yet, and he was already that entitled. Imagine how much worse he is now, with a billion-dollar brand, A-list status, and a wife who literally thinks she can subpoena half of Hollywood to win a lawsuit. Blake and Ryan's PR nightmare isn't ending anytime soon, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because I'll be here exposing every shady move they try to pull next.